I still don't think enough is being done. And I think that is because people still don't want to talk about it. And it's like pushing it to the side. And I think from what I can see, especially over the past few years with like COVID and stuff, what I've seen, people, until things get really, really bad, that's when people are like, okay, yeah, we need to do something. So it's like we're too slow with it. We're really slow with it because we wait until it's really bad, until the last second to do something about something or like talk about something. And it's like by then, so many bad things have happened. Like with COVID, it wasn't until there was how many deaths that we went into a lockdown. And that lockdown, and like half the world had already gone into a lockdown. But the UK was like one of the last because they were waiting basically for a certain number of deaths. Like that's, when you think about it, that's so messed up.
I know. And
to wait until something's really bad to make a change is why I say we're moving slow. Because it's like we recognizing it, we know it's there, but we're just like, let's leave it for a bit and then let's do something. And that's why I say we are making progress really, really slow. I think it could be a lot faster. There's not enough like physical change, I'd say. Because I feel like we live in a generation where we give up a bit too easily. Like, oh, if there's no change, it's not working out or whatever, then move on to the next thing. But like, you're not gonna, especially big issues in the world, and there are a lot of big issues in the world, you're not gonna see the change like tomorrow. It's gonna take years. Especially back in the day, like it took years.
It took generations.
Like it took generations, years. Like for us to even be where we are now. So it's like we know it is going to do that, but we still need to do our part. I'd say we are improving and everything. It's definitely, I think people are talking about it more, or people are a bit more open. I think people are scared to talk about it, but they're not afraid of hearing it anymore.
Three, 2, 1. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Jeoffrey Sarpong podcast. Today I'm here with Gammar.
Hello.
How are you, Gammar?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. The day's not too great, to be fair. We had a better day yesterday. Today's okay.
It was a bit gloomy.
It is a bit gloomy.
Not fun.
But we're gonna make the best out of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today again.
No worries.
I really appreciate you. The reason I want to have you on here today because I've seen a lot of people, trying to like do stuff in the world and trying to make change. But I think when I saw what you were doing and the impact that you're trying to make, I really wanted to get you here to speak more about it because I want to highlight that. And I think more people should be doing what you're doing. And so I want to give you your flowers early on to say that I am really inspired by what you do.
Aww.
I think a lot of what you do is actually impactful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, on that point, one of the ways I got to connect with you was through your running. So talk to me a little bit more about your marathon for Gaza. When you started doing it, what inspired you to start doing it, and what you kind of gained from doing it.
To be honest, I've wanted to do something to show, one, how much I care about Gaza, but also spread awareness and not just through like posting it on Instagram and stuff. Because I think Instagram is pretty much the only kind of social media I use, like where I can post things. I don't really like LinkedIn use for work, right? But on Instagram, I post a lot, and I've been posting a lot about Gaza on there. And I wanted to do something where, like for me, it feels like I'm showing my support, but I'm also spreading that awareness. And I thought I want to do something, but there's not that many charities out there, like well-known charities that people know about that actually support Gaza. And it's like, I was like, I've done a marathon before. I did a half marathon in summer. And I was like, I can do a personal run and I can make that be about Gaza and I can raise money and everything. Because I didn't know how to go about it because not a lot of charities do it. So like Mind, obviously they're a big charity, but you can only do it for like mental health on there. And when I reached out to them and I was like, I want to do a run for like Gaza basically. And they're like, they only do it for Mind. So if I do it through them, I can only do it like about mental health. Exactly. So I was like, I want to do something because I post about it, but I want to actually show that I'm doing a lot more. Posting is good and it spreads awareness and everything, but my Instagram is also on private. So like only so few people are going to see it and they can spread it and everything. But I was like, I want to do something physical as well to actually help and raise money, because I was given to charity anyways. I was donating, but I wanted to do more because it's so intense what's going on over there. So then I thought, okay, I'll do a run. And I wanted to do it for a while, but I was like, I don't know how I'm going to raise what I want to raise because, again, like I said, my social media is on private. So I can be sharing it and people aren't going to see it. And not everyone trusts donating, especially to like individual charities, because they're like, oh, how do I know my money's actually going to that cause or anything like that? So I was like really skeptical about it, so I held back from doing it for a while. But then I was just like, I want to do it and I feel like I need to do it. So then that's when I just reached out to Mind, and then they said that I can't do it with them. So now they were like, oh, you can reach out to like Just Giving, which I did. I did have to have the account be reviewed about 3 times because they view it as like a very big, like controversial topic. And it's like, okay, why are you supporting Gaza and you're not supporting this? So it's just very like hard to get it started in the first place. Like it took, I think like my account was under review for like 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really long. And I had to email and be like, hi, I've set up a page. And it was just, I had to answer like a series, basically. I had to do like an assessment, basically, and answer all the questions of...
Just to give.
Yeah, like where is it going? Where am I donating? Like what website and everything. And it was just really long. But eventually it got approved and then it got taken down. And then it got approved again and then put back up. And then that's when I posted it. And initially I raised 100 in literally less than 24 hours, which I was really shocked about because I was like... My Instagram, like I said, my Instagram is private, like, but then I raised 100 in less than 24 hours and I was like, okay, I'll bump it to like 150. Then I raised 150 within the hour I raised it to 150. And I was like, okay, let me do 300 because I have a month. By then I only had like a month and like a week before I was going to do the run. And so I was like, that's going to leave enough time. But I even reached the £300 goal 3 weeks before I was actually supposed to do the run, and it felt really nice because I knew obviously the money was going all to Gaza, but it felt so nice to have everyone support me and the cause and like everyone else doing their part, because that's the reason why I was doing it. I was doing it so that I can do my part to show that I care, raise awareness, and then also like the people of Gaza, Palestinians, they've gone through so much and they've endured so much and they've lost so much, and yet they still like have smiles on their face. And it's like there's been times where I've been sad and it's been over something so small and I'm just like moping, but like they've literally had their whole lives basically taken from them, and they still sit there and have a smile on their face, and like they're still grateful for everything that they have, even though they don't have much. And like they would walk on foot to flee each area each time just so that they can like live another day. And I was like, a marathon, obviously you take steps in a marathon, you complete a kilometre, half a kilometre, whatever, you take steps. So I just wanted my run to be about me also taking those steps with the people of Gaza, because they need us, like they need the rest of the world, and I don't think the rest of the world is there as much as they should be. Which I was like, okay, let me just do my part. It's something small in comparison to like bigger organizations that are able to do a lot more and they're like established and everything. Like, I'm just one person, but it's enough, like knowing that I've done it and I did what I could and I pushed myself to do it. Because running 17 kilometers is not easy. It's not easy at all. It is not easy at all. And it's very draining. It's very tiring, and you have to like train your body to like basically reach maximum effort. And it wasn't easy at all, and it was really emotional. Like it was mentally a lot, physically a lot, but also emotionally a lot because of my emotional tie to why I'm doing it. It wasn't just like, oh, I want to see if I can run 17 kilometers. No, it was more so I need to do it, and I need to do it for them. So it was just emotionally, it was a lot. And like even mid run I was like, oh my god, this is a lot. When I hit that like 15th kilometer, I was like, I'm really tired, and my calves were cramping up as well. And I was like, this really hurts. But I was like, as much as I'm in pain, I can finish it, and I'm going to finish it because I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for like Gaza.
Talk a little bit more about that too. You mentioned about how like running kind of helped you imagine how they were feeling like too when they had to go from place to place.
Yeah.
What's that like when you were like, 15 miles in and your calf is hurting, but you want to do this because you see that like you're doing it for people who even go through even more pain.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind? How are you kind of still like pumping yourself up to finish?
It was actually really hard. It was really hard. Like I was like telling myself I need to finish, and I've not got that much left to do. Like I've only had 2 kilometers left, but that last 2 kilometers was always the hardest, because then it's like you're so close to the end, but then you're like, I'm so tired, and like I just want to sit and stop, and you like I just want to finish early. But then like it was a lot, and it took a lot, and I literally called my partner midway through running, and I was like, I need you to kind of like push me, because it's getting really hard, and it was getting really emotional. Because I was in pain as well. But then I was like, the pain I'm enduring, it is only temporary, and I'm only experiencing it for a day while I do this run. Whereas the people of Gaza, fleeing from place to place, like you're not sleeping, you're not eating, you're dehydrated, like you've lost your home, and every time you do find a new home, you've now lost that and you have to flee. And it's like, they're doing that every single day of their lives. I was doing it for one day. I can hang on, because they're hanging on, literally, and they're doing it with a smile on their face, and they're still so grateful for everything. So I was just reminding myself that I need to do it for them, and also for myself to know that I've done what I can, because it was really hard, like especially those last 2. And by the end of it, I was like, oh my God, like it felt worse. Like the pain was worse than it was when I did my 21 my marathon back in summer, but that's because there was no emotional tie to it. With this one, there was an emotional tie, so I felt like if I don't finish it, I've kind of a little bit failed, because no one's told me to do it. Like I say it out myself, so like I had to just kind of complete it and remind myself why.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I think that there is no failure in trying. So the fact that you even tried, you should be really proud. And even if you had stopped, the fact that you did 15 kilometers and the fact that you raised awareness and all of that, that's really impressive. But I think obviously for you want to actually make sure that you do something that matters even for yourself. Yeah. Talk to me more about running. So obviously you chose running as a way to show your support. What is it about running that you like? What is it? You've been running for a while, you mentioned. Talk to me when you started running. What do you like about running, and how does it affect, like, impact your life?
So I've been running for years because in primary school I did cross country from like year 3. Yeah. And it was such a thrill, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Back then, doing it like at such a young age, and being called out of class for training, it's like, oh, I'm so cool. Like, you guys are stuck here, and I'm like training. I'm like this athlete. I'm like Olympic medal, I'm representing the school, and it felt so good. And then I really enjoyed it, to be fair. And I don't know if it's because of the coaches I had, because they were like amazing, and they were really like motivating, and like they genuinely did take care of me, and everything. So I don't know if it was because of them that I always felt motivated, but I also did really enjoy it. And then when it came to the competing aspect, I am a competitive person, to be honest.
So am I.
Everyone will say that I'm overly competitive.
No such thing if you win.
I don't like losing, I'll be honest, but I can respect if someone else wins and I don't. So when I was doing the competitions, and I was actually doing well, because in year 5 when I did cross country, I was meant to run for my year group, and they asked me to run for like the year 6s, so I ran with them, and I came 4th. And I was like, I'm running against older people and I've come 4th. Like that is, and I'm good. I'm really good. Like I can do this. Yeah. And then when I ran for my year group, I came 2nd, and I was like, I'm actually really like, I can do it. I can make like a career out of this. Obviously, I didn't pursue running as a career, but I was like, at that point, I was like, this is like my thing. Like some people have like football, basketball, netball, whatever. Running was my thing. And then I just continued doing it when I got into secondary school. But back then it was only like it was cross country. I don't know how long cross country is.
I was going to ask, what is cross country for people who have no idea?
It was always around November, December. So it was always before the Christmas break. And where they would take us to a park, and we basically run around that whole park. But it was like a big park, and it would be like you go uphill, then downhill, then uphill. That's what it was. Athletics, I started off doing 800, and then out of nowhere, my teacher was like, "Can you do 15?" And I was like, "I've never done 15, so I don't know." And then she was like, we'll train you. Trained me for it. And then I was like, oh, this is way better. So then I started doing 15, but if they needed me to do 800, I would do 800. And then I would do that with athletics and everything. And the medals were so nice.
Do you still have them? To be honest,
I still have them. They're at my mum's, but I still have them because I was like, there's no way I'm going to show my kids this and be like,
that's
like mommy.
Yeah, respect me.
Be like mommy, respect me. You know, I ran. Yeah, I was like, I ran through trenches, even though I didn't. Yeah. But it was cold. Cross country, you run in November. It's raining, it's muddy, sometimes snowing. It was freezing.
Serious weather.
So it was like, back then, like before the run, I'd be shaking. I'd be like, but cold. I'd be shaking from nerves as well. And I'd be like, it's freezing. And then the moment you get out there and you're running, you get hot. But then also it just feels so freeing. Because that's what it is for me. Like, running's always, I did it for school and everything. But it's always also been like my stress reliever. Like, whenever I'm like stressed, I don't know, whatever 16-year-olds stress about, I would go on a run after school, and I would only do back then I would only do 3K. I never actually explored the whole 5K and everything. I would just do what I thought was enough of what basically 800 meters, 1500 meters would be. And I would do that, and it felt really nice. Like if I'd be stressed from GCSEs. So when you look at it now, it's like really.
It was big back then. It was big back then. It was like your whole life was gonna end if you failed. Yeah.
And I'd go on a run after school, and it felt really nice. But then also it felt weird if I wasn't doing that. I started doing netball, but I got more from running, feeling wise, and then I continued. I did stop in sixth form. I would go on runs here and there, but I would say that was probably the 2 years where I was the least runny. I don't know why, to be honest. I think because I stopped competing, because you stop doing the competitions in year 10. You don't do it in year 11, because by the time the competitions happen, you've already left because you've done your GCSEs now. So I didn't run as much, and then I went and did work experience. So I didn't do it as much, and I don't know if it's because I wasn't competing anymore that I stopped. But I don't know, I just stopped, and I did it a few times in sixth form, and I was like, oh, this is nice. That's when I started doing 5Ks. And then I would run past my secondary school, so I would see my old PE teacher that was also my coach, and I'd be like, oh,
I'm still running.
They see me and they're like, oh, you're still running now, and I'm like, yeah, I am. And then they'd be like, oh, that's really nice, and I'd be like, this is so good. So then I started up again, but I was only doing 5K, and then obviously COVID hit. And then
no one was running.
Yeah. Your life basically stopped. I didn't even do my A-levels. They just gave us grades. And then obviously we're all at home, bearing in mind we're a big family. We're all at home, it's getting tense. The tension is rising. And then that challenge on Instagram of I challenge this person to do 5K, and you tag 5 people.
Oh, really?
And they have to do it. Yeah, that was going around, and I got tagged in it, and I was like, okay, say nothing, I'm gonna do it then. And then my sister did it with me because I challenged her, and my brother did it with us as well, and we did it. And then I was like, this is nice. And then I got back into running again. Like I said, it was a really freeing, especially in COVID. Just being able to get out, because we weren't even allowed outside the houses. So just being able to get out and do something that I do love felt really nice. So then I was just running and everything, and then I was like, I want to beat my time. So that's when it became about beating my last time, because I wasn't competing. I was competing against myself. I need to beat my last time. Okay, last time I got 30 minutes, next time I need to get 29. It just became about that. But then also I was running with my siblings, so I was a little bit of a friendly competition, just a little bit. And I remember my brother ran ahead of us, and he took the wrong route. So he didn't even end up doing 5K because he took the wrong route. Because he was like, where are they? We finished the 5K. We were like, where did you go?
Yeah.
And he was like, I went this way. And we were like, well, how much did you run? He's like, oh, you only shows 3K. And I was like, exactly. That's what happens. Because my sister used to run as well. So when I would do cross country, she would do it as well.
Oh, wow.
So it was nice, like
a bonding
having that,
experience.
yeah. And then when they would do the training for it, we would like do it together. So it was really nice as well.
What did they teach you when you trained? What was that like? How do you train to run long distance?
It was really weird because my PE teacher would be like, okay, Gammar, go and do your 15K. And no, 1500 meters, sorry. And then there was another teacher. I don't know if he was actually a PE teacher because he didn't teach any lessons, but he was always like there. But only there when it came to PE. And then he was like to me, come here. And I went, and then he was like, oh, you know, I used to be a runner too. And I was like, oh, really? Because he was like really old. He was like a granddad, basically.
Yeah.
And then he'll be like, your technique is really good. I didn't even know like I had a technique. I thought I was just running. I didn't know back then that running, like, there
everyone
was a
thinks they can run, right?
It.
It's just
Yeah. And then he was like, no, your technique is really good, but this is what you should do if you want to like get a better pace or basically beat your time. Because what I would do is I did used to start off really fast and then by the time you're almost done you're like tired, so like you don't have time for that last sprint. But he was like, start off this way, control your breathing, breathe through your nose, don't breathe through your mouth. So he was like, keep your mouth basically shut, which was really hard because I don't know why when I run I just even when I gym, I breathe through my mouth. So he was giving like little tips, and I was like, oh, I guess. And when I started doing that, I was like, oh, I guess then I am getting better. And in some ways, yeah, he's training me to run a lot better as well. And it was really good. But I didn't think you could train someone to run properly until he did. And after every single PE session, while everyone else is doing like literally football, whatever activity, they were like, Gammar, just go. And I was like, okay.
Learn how to breathe through your nose.
Literally, basically go learn how to breathe through your nose. And I would run and it felt so nice. And I was really close to my PE teachers, to be fair. And they always literally, like I said, took care of me when I did have the competitions. Like, I had studs. I didn't know you should run with studs, but when it came to athletics, they gave me my studs and I would run in that. Like, they would bring us the little Lucozade drinks as well. It was like they really took care of us and they did motivate us. So it was nice. So I don't know if like my love for running also came from like basically the role models I had when it came to like exploring it in the first place. But I can continue to do it and then stopped for a bit and then went back into it, like fell back in love with it basically. And then it wasn't until like my first year of uni that's when I started doing like 10Ks, like above the 5Ks. And I was like, it first started as I need to see if I can do it because my first year was in Colchester and University of Essex. Don't go. And it was a great running route. That's the thing. The uni had a great running route and it was so free and open. But the uni just ain't it. And I was running there and I was like, the routes are really nice. Let me try do like 6 today. Let me try do 7. So I started to do 7. Then I started to do 10. Oh my God, it killed me. Like that first 10K, I thought I died.
What's the difference between like a 5, 7K and a 10K?
5 for me is like a refreshing run. When I do like 7, it's like, it sounds so weird, but 7's like a workout. 10 is like pushing myself. Because I won't go run like 10K every single day. Like there was a period of time where I did and I lost a lot of weight. So I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you are eating as much as you're burning. But I wasn't doing that because when I'm full. Like I can't go and be like, oh, I need to. I can't do that. But yeah, I would say 10 is when I'm pushing myself. 7 is when I'm like trying to like do a workout. And 5 is like refreshing because there was a time, obviously I work from home and I went on my lunch. I was on my lunch. So I was just like, let me just go do a run. And I just ran 5K because 5K is like, it takes me, my best time was, I think 26 minutes recently. So it doesn't take that long either. Whereas 10, it's like under an hour for me. So it's Because also you could get bored a little bit when running unless you have a really good playlist.
I was gonna say, you're a playlist person.
I have a playlist. I had to have a playlist. That's the thing. Otherwise, I had every single song on repeat. And some songs they don't push you. Like in the gym, you have your like songs that you listen to. So when I'm running, there's certain songs, mainly Sia and like The Weeknd, to be honest.
It's like the soundtrack to your life. And just
like basically the soundtracks to movies.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
You're in a movie yourself.
Yeah, so I'll have those playing in the back because, especially Sia, like a lot of her songs are like really like pushing yourself. So I would just have them. But if I didn't have my playlist, I would be bored because I've tried to run without listening to anything and I was bored. I tried to run with listening to a podcast and I was like, I'm bored.
See,
silence.
I can only do podcasts, you know, like nowadays.
While running.
Music is too like stimulating for me. I'm just too hyper.
Oh, I can't do that. I need to be really stimulated. When doing some sort of like sports activity or like the gym or whatever. So I have to have it, and I tried because I don't like also hearing myself breathing.
That's a bit
or hearing my footsteps.
Yeah.
So I have to have really like stimulating music for it.
Do you get into like the runner's high when you're like, and how long does it take you nowadays to get that?
I don't really get it when I do 5K, to be honest. I'll get it when I do 7, but then sometimes when I do 7, I'll plan to do 7 that day. And then while I'm doing the 7, I'm like, I might as well just do 10. And I don't know if that's the runner's high, because I'm like, I'll get to 5 and I'm like, I feel like I can
go more.
I can do more.
I feel good.
So I think that's the runner's high. And then I'm like, my time is really good. And if I see that I've beat my time for like 5 or 7 before, then I'll be like, I'm going to do 10 because I'm closer to beating that now. So then I guess that's when my runner's high kicks in. But also I have to have a good route. If I don't like my route, it affects my run. It's so weird. If I don't like it, it affects my run. And then I'm like, I just want to get this over and done with. So I have to like my route to be able to continue
the run,
going and enjoy the run. Last year when I was training for my half marathon, this has never happened to me before. I never vomited after a run until I was training for it. And then afterwards I would be like really dizzy and I feel like my blood pressure going really low. I'd be like, oh my God. And then I'd vomit and I'd be so drowsy afterwards. But I think it was just because by then, like now I'm starting to really push my body to its maximum, because when you do like 7 all the time, that's not your limit anymore. That's basically just like your standard. And that's what it became for me. Like I'd done the 7, 10s enough. So when I started doing more, it took a toll on my body. But it was great. It was just really funny, to be honest.
Let's take a pivot. Like you mentioned that you have a big family. And like that you've grown up in that. Talk to me about some of your values that you were growing up. I want to kind of set the stage for why you care so much about the things that you care about and why that means that much to you actually going out there and you're doing all this, you're running all these distances. 15k. Guys, 15k is crazy. Like if you
to me it was
17k, I'm even getting it wrong. 17k is crazy. Like go outside, try to run even 10k and then come back and let me know. But yeah, talk to me about your upbringing and what that was like for you.
To be fair, we've always been like a close family, especially like me and my siblings with our parents as well. We've always been quite close. And growing up, like my parents have worked hard and my mum's worked really, really hard as well. Like when I was really young, she was studying, like she was doing her undergrad and she did her master's. And there was a few times like we went with her, not like while she had like a lesson, but like there was a few times we went, if she had to go get something or something, we would be there. And like seeing her like work as hard as she did for something that she was passionate about, because she's a mental health nurse. So like seeing her work as hard as she did kind of push, I would say my siblings as well, but it definitely pushed me to want to also do that, especially with the giving back. Like obviously when I was young I was like, oh yeah, like she's just a nurse. Like I didn't understand like mental health, like the different like careers you can have in the NHS, but I was like she's taking care of people and she's also taking care of us. So I think that's where the whole wanting to be caring has come from, because I did want to also follow in my mum's footsteps, and I was like, I'm going to be a nurse. I'm going to like study like nursing and all of that. Obviously I didn't, because I grew up and I was like, I admire it a lot, But I did really enjoy like the sociology side of things. And like sometimes like she'll be, when she's doing like her notes, when I was younger, I would like look at the notes and everything. And my parents always did teach us to kind of work hard as well and be really close and care for people, like treat people good and kind of like stay away from like the negative stuff, to be honest. And to be fair, my dad would always say basically like, if you don't have each other, meaning like my siblings and stuff, then no one will have you outside. Which when I was younger, I was like, oh, you're just saying that because we've had an argument and like we're being told off. But like the older I've gotten, I get what he's saying. Cause, like my sister's like my best friend, and like we're close with my obviously me and my sister live together, but we're all still really close as siblings. But like I get it. But back then I was like, she's annoying though. Like we just had an argument. Like we're not friends right now. But like my dad will always say like, if you don't have each other, if you don't love each other, then no one out there will love you. And it's true. I guess like it does start from within the home. Like you do learn like what kind of person you want to be and everything, and what route you want to go down. And we were always taught to literally work hard and stay focused and not let like little distractions. And then my parents did always say as well, make sure like you get good friends. And like my parents could tell from like a mile away if someone wasn't a good friend. I wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, huh?
But I like them. They're like, no,
I like
not good
them.
for
Like
you.
she's nice. Like we play together at lunchtime. But like I didn't get it. And at the time, because you're a kid and you're just like, oh, like they're just being strict. But my parents were just very much like, basically what I've gauged from it, grow yourself first before anything else. Like
100%.
focus on yourself. Like
100%.
make sure you're basically good and everything. And I think I've taken that as I've grown up and into like everything I do. Like with the whole, my mum being so caring and her working for that NHS where like, you know, you're taking care of people that are strangers, but you know, like you're that person for them, especially where like when you work in a mental health ward, a lot of the patients you come across, like they've not had someone their whole lives. When someone turns to drugs, it's not, oh my God, like, oh, they're just doing drugs. Like you kind of have to think, it's forced me to kind of think a little bit like, why did they do that? Or maybe it's like they've never had someone that listened to them and that they needed someone. So it's like, I'm now that like that, and I'm really like, I would like to think I'm quite caring. And I want to give back, and I want to do what I can to basically just give back to the world, because again, tomorrow's not even promised.
Exactly.
So it's like, if I can leave today and be like, I've done what I can to try be a good person or try give back, then I'm happy.
Speaking on that, actually, and I want to speak about the issue which I actually brought you here for, which is the Gaza situation and the Palestine situation. What do you think most people don't understand about that? And like, why do you think, because a lot of people hear about it, they get it, but they don't really, they're not as active. What do you think most people don't understand about it? Why do you think it's so important to be active and to show the support that you've shown?
I think people think it only started on October 7th, like 2 years ago. But it's been going on for years, before my parents were even born. Like it's gone on for years. And I think what people don't understand is like, because it's not them, because it's like, it's not directly happening to me, then like, what am I meant to do basically? But then it's like, if it was happening to you, would you want someone saying, oh, it's not happening to me, like what am I meant to do? You wouldn't want that. You would want someone to be like, I need to help, like I need to do what I can, like. And that's what I think people aren't understanding. Like they think it's just another thing that's like, oh, it happens to everyone, like there's not going to be any change, like there's no point in like doing anything, like even if I boycott Starbucks, nothing's going to happen because they're a really big business and I'm just one person. But what people forget to understand is that if like, yeah, you're one person, but if this other person's doing it and a whole community is doing it, or a lot more people are doing it, it's not just one person anymore. Exactly. It takes like more individuals to like it be like a group thing, like a collective thing, and people don't get that. And I think it's a bit sad, to be honest. It's like we live in a very multicultural country as well, number one. So especially anyone who has like an immigrant background or an ethnic background, you know it's not easy. like, whether or not you've grew up in the UK, you know it's not easy. And you know what your parents have probably been through. So you know how it feels to somewhat be targeted. And that's exactly what's happening. People don't understand that. They're like, literally, if it's not me, then what can I do? And people aren't talking about it enough, or people are scared to talk about it because they're like, they don't want to say the wrong thing. But I think when it comes to a situation where it's like deaths, and like life, it's a life or death situation, there isn't a right or wrong answer. I think there's a clear answer. And it's like, as a person, I think we're all human and we all need to be supportive, because at the end of the day, if it was you,
yes, exactly.
you would want someone behind you. But I don't know, I feel like people are just... But that people don't want to know as well. Like, people don't want to, like, educate themselves.
I always think about this too. It's like, I think, like, the ignorance and, like, apathy, those are, like, the worst things when it comes to social change. Because most people don't want to know, like you were saying. And the fact that because they don't want to know, they feel apathetic. Like, they don't feel the connection and the empathy for the people that are going through it. You know, it's from a screen, so they kind of, like, project that thing out of themselves. But, like you said, we're all human beings. You know, it's like one person, that's happening to you, in a sense. Because that, you know, there's this idea of, like, the human collective unconscious. Like, if that's out there and if you don't do anything about that, you know, that's going to permeate. That's the humankind that you're creating, you know?
And for me, it's like, okay, I live in the UK. I would say I'm privileged to be able to have what I have every single day. But obviously, I do have a Yemeni background. Like, I'm half Yemeni, I'm half African. And Yemen is also a struggling country because they've been made a struggling country by, like, Saudi. So it's like, yeah, cool, I'm not Palestinian, I'm not from Gaza, but, like, I know what my country's experience or what they are experiencing, and I know the pain and the suffering and everything is the same as what the people in Gaza are experiencing as well. So it's like, for me as well, it's like, yeah, cool, I'm not there and it's not happening to me, but, like, it's happened to my people. And, like, if I was back, I'm lucky to be here, but if I was back there, I would want to know that the world's got my back, or, like, people have my back, especially when it's going on to the extent that it's going on. Like, that's why it's like, for me, I'm like, anyone that says like, they don't understand why they need to boycott or anything, it's like, okay, cool, if you're not educated, then I get it, cool, I get that. But if you're just ignorant and you're just like, but there's no point, like, there's not going to be any change, it's not a big issue, you're not going to see an immediate change. It has to be gradual, and it starts with people, because we know like, the government and everything, it's not that easy, like, with them. So it has to start from, like, the people. And every little, literally, not to sound like Tesco, but every little helps. It does. Every little helps.
You should take that slogan from Tesco.
Literally. No. Don't sue me. But, yeah.
But no, you're 100% right. And I often think about this too, because, like, even when I, like, study, like, civil rights, and I look at, like, how they did it, you know, like we were speaking about before we started, like, they had so much, like, you know, action and activism back then. We don't. We just kind of let things happen.
I think people today, our generation today, are just too selfish. Yeah. They're way too selfish and arrogant. I think people are motivated mainly by, like, their greed. And it's just sad.
They see what other people have.
They see what other people have and they want that.
Yeah.
They don't, like, care if, as well, people don't care if they get somewhere by allowing someone else to suffer. And it's like, for me, it's like, that's blood money. Yeah. Like, that's blood money. Obviously, I used to work at Harrods, and it's like, there was one time, there was, like, a client, and he came in, and then afterwards we saw that he was actually, it was a big client. He was directly working with, like, Israel, basically. And it would have been my commission, but I gave the sale away. But, like, if I got that commission from it, that basically would have been blood money. Like, they would have, that money is not, like, blessed or anything like that. But people don't, not everyone thinks like that. A lot of people don't think like that. They're like, okay, I have it at the end of the day.
And see, like, the fascinating thing is someone's going to hear that and then immediately reject that message because they'll feel like we're talking about them. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, we're not even talking about you. We're talking about the thing that happened. Yeah. But they're so unaware of themselves or unaware of what they can do.
They take offense straight away. Before, like, actually thinking, oh, maybe, why is she saying that? Yeah. Let me listen to the explanation first before I just jump down the throat and be like, you're this.
You're this,
You can't do that. Like, yes, sometimes it's not easy to hear what you don't want to hear, or you don't like. It's not easy to hear that you're being called out.
Yeah.
But if it resonates with you, the truth hurts. Then
Literally,
you need to take a step back and like reflect. Like, if you're offended by it, I think it's because you know somewhat in your heart there's truth to it. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel offended, and you would be able to sit and listen and
you're probably saying it like really nicely. Like, if you were talking about the civil rights people from before, they were not nice about it. They were not nice about it at all, because they understood what change like needed, didn't it? Like, you know. Okay, but to be fair to them, let's give them a way that they can support. What are some of the small acts that anyone that's watching this can do to make a difference? Like, what are some of the things? Obviously, if you look around the world, right, if like you were saying, it feels like these are like geopolitical, like countries are doing this. What can I do? People have that perspective. But like you said, right, it's like each individual, you know, individuals create social pressure. So what can individuals do to kind of foster that social pressure and to create an environment where we push the pressure on the people that need to make a decision?
I would say just educate yourself. Like, it doesn't, like, you don't have to go and like do something physical straight away or something drastic straight away. It just educating yourself is enough first to just be like, okay, cool, let me take a step back and let me do what I can. Like, you don't have to, I'm not saying hands down, like, go protest every single day, like, and like anyone that doesn't agree, like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just like, educate yourself first. So that you can actually understand what it is that people are talking about it. Because I do think people aren't educating themselves. It's like, they've seen it on social media and they're like, oh, okay. And then they see the count of you and they're like, oh, okay, it's just like, what is it then?
Yeah.
But you're not going, like, you need to, I think, educate yourself first before you can go and do anything. And then if you want, you can like protest, or you could donate, or you can boycott. I know it's not easy to boycott, especially when it's a lot of things as well. Like, it's really hard. But the things like, for example, like McDonald's, I think you can live without McDonald's or Starbucks. There's multiple like small business. I'm a big small business supporter. So like small business coffee shops, or, you know, like fast food. You can do the little things. Just by like boycotting a brand or like anything, things that you can live without. Do that. Like, that's small. Agree. It's not. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to shout it from the roofs. Like, it's just a small thing. Like, the things that you can live without. Do like, you can boycott. Like, it's not like McDonald's. It's not that nice.
It's not even good for you. It's not even good for you. We're trying to help you.
We're trying to help you, because it's not good. It's so unhealthy. I remember back when, like, years ago, I've not had McDonald's in, like, I think, like 2 years, maybe more.
Yeah.
It would hurt my stomach, personally. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I always had a stomach ache, and it wasn't that nice. Not like, you know, when you were younger, it was good.
Yeah, you wanted it every time you're driving past.
But it's not like that anymore. But other places do really nice burgers. That's why I'm like, McDonald's isn't even like that deep. Even Starbucks, that overpriced coffee.
Go to a normal independent coffee shop. I work for one. Come, we will serve you free.
Like, Starbucks is extortionate.
Yeah.
It's basically rent. Like, it's bad. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like the small things. It starts with the small things. Just even educating yourself, I think, is enough. And understanding the situation and sympathizing with the people that are going through it. Because, like I said, if it was you would want someone to sympathize with you. And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, they're like, feel sorry for me. No, it's just you're human at the end of the day. When like you have a cut, you want someone to come and like clean it up like when you're a kid and put a plaster on it. Be that person putting the plaster on, like, for the people that are suffering. Simple as.
I completely agree.
It doesn't have to be drastic.
I completely agree.
You don't have to be radical as well. I'm not radical. You don't have to be radical as well, but, you know.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's like, especially when it comes to issues like this, like the issues that we think are too big, it's like small little steps, you know, small little like actions from each individual after a while. And even for your own soul, you know, like, even for your soul, like you're a human being living on this earth, like you're going to have at a certain point, you're going to be responsible for the earth that's here. Your children are going to come into this earth and you're going to be like, Mom, what did you do? And
you don't want to bring your kids into a world where you've been ignorant.
Yeah, literally.
Because if it was, again, obviously, if it was your child, you'd want someone helping your child if you wasn't there to help your child. Help someone the way you'd want someone to help you or someone you care about. Simple. Like, it's not hard, but I think people just aren't educated enough. But then also it's not spoken about enough. Especially like with Gaza, that's not spoken about enough. You can't talk about it at work in certain workplaces. You can't talk about it in school. You can't, like, my little sister told me she was wearing the flag, the badge of the flag, and she was told to take it off. But there was no rule saying that you can't wear it. And it's like...
Let's talk about that then, because like I think you said something really, really poignant when we were discussing doing this, where you were like, people choose what to care about. They feel like they have to choose care about one thing. If they don't, you know, they're kind of like picking sides.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned like another controversy I don't think it's a controversy, but another issue that affected. So talk to me about that. Why do you think, first off, people choose to pick sides in when it comes to like making a difference, and you know, and like or some of the other controversies do you think deserve more attention even?
I think people definitely pick and choose when they want to support something that is related to human rights. And the reason why I say that is because when, for example, in COVID, when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, everyone was quite supportive and very vocal on social media, like people from all communities, all backgrounds and everything like that. Because they're like, you know, there's deaths involved, people are dying, people are being killed, it's unfair, they're innocent, all of that. Now it's come to, or even with recently when Selena Gomez posted that video, snap or Instagram story, and she was crying about the mass deportation of Mexicans. That is very sad and everything. And she was like, there's children and everything. And then it was like, you were completely silent when it came to talking about the Palestinian children that are being killed, or like all of that. Like, you were silent with that, and it's like you're picking and choosing when to support a cause, and it's like they all very much relate to each other because they all involve like deaths and everything, and it's like you're picking and choosing when one's important to talk about, which isn't fair. Like, you can't put one humanitarian issue above another. They're both humanitarian issues. They both need to be addressed and they both need to be dealt with, and awareness needs to be spread and things need to be done. Like, you can't pick and choose. And also, like, similarly, like with the, you've probably heard, but the Natalie B Fitness, her gym, the women's, biological women's only gym that she wants to open. Obviously, she came up with the idea back in 2021. She was young. She wasn't a mum. She didn't have the, like, it was just an idea back then. That's what people are forgetting. It was just an idea back then where she was like, she wants to open a women's only gym, like, who would like attend, all of that. Now it's like 4 years later, she's done the research and everything. Back then she said, all women are inclusive, like all trans women are inclusive, biological women, like Muslim women, like all women are included and they can have a membership and they can come to the gym. 4 years later, she has, I think it's close to opening. I don't know if she's opening in summer or like if she has opened. But all I know is it's very much like at the end of the process, basically. And a few weeks ago, she just came out with like a statement basically saying that the gym's only going to be a biological women gym. So only biological women can have like a membership and work out there and like come to her gym. And it just started this big like uproar on social media. And she did explain why. It started this big uproar on social media where people were like, you said trans women were allowed to come. Are you now saying they're not women and they're not welcome, blah, blah, blah. And then she did a video where she explained her decisions, and she was like, since she made that statement back in 2021, she has done research and she's spoken to like the trans community, the trans women community, the Muslim community, like basically everyone she needs to speak to, like gym owners, like all of that. She's done all of that, and she's come to the decision where she's come to. She said it wasn't an easy decision, especially because of the statement she made, but like she's made the decision now, and that's what she's going with, because she wants it to be like hijabi friendly, like the Muslim women that wear hijabs and stuff, like, you can't be in a changing room and there's a biological male there and, like, there's a bolt. Like, you can't change or, like, work out in front of them, basically. And she's just getting a lot of hate. And I find it really, really sad because it's like, people are like, she's transphobic. She's not. She's made a statement. She's taken it back. It is upsetting to hear, obviously. As someone who is a trans woman, I can I can understand why they would feel upset about it and maybe hurt by it. But I don't think it's fair to call her transphobic and say, like, she's, like, against all trans women, that she thinks that trans women aren't real women or anything like that. But she's also explained that in this gym, they're going to be teaching about PCOS, menstrual cycle, postpartum, pregnancy, all of that stuff. All things that only a biological woman can experience. Hence why it wouldn't make sense for a trans woman to be sat in that class, because you can't relate to that, especially, like, things with postpartum or PCOS. You won't be able to relate to that. Unfortunately, you just won't. So, like, I get where she's coming from with that. And it's like, people are like, they've taken one thing she said and they've just run this narrative that she's this, like, evil, evil woman who's, like, transphobic and against all trans women. And it's like, that's just not the case. I think she did, like, a crowdfunding and some trans women donated, and she's offered to refund them back basically what they donated.
Yeah.
And it's just sad, to be honest, because it's just like, she's also gave birth 5 months ago. She's going through all of this. She's going through postpartum, learning to be a new mother. I think she's only, like, 25. So, like, she's been through it. So it's like, again, like, people are picking and choosing when to feel outraged about something. Because it's like, who said that biological women don't want a space only for them? Obviously, I'm a biological woman. I would love the idea of a space only for us, especially for, like, I don't have PCOS or anything, but obviously menstrual cycle, like, one day I'll experience pregnancy, probably postpartum as well. I would want to know that I have a space where I can talk freely about that, and it literally just relates to me and the other women that experience that. It doesn't have to be, like, just because you want something that is not including someone else, it doesn't make you transphobic. It doesn't make you a hater.
Literally, this is like,
it doesn't.
Do you remember, like, when I was talking about before? This is like the issues when people talk about black issues, and then people want to conflate and be like, well, what about white people? And it's like, yes, it's not mutually exclusive. Yeah. Like, you can have the conversation about black people, and even if it's excluding, that is because by necessity, because you're talking about one thing. And I think, first off, thank you for talking about that issue, because I think, like, perspective is so important. Yeah. This perspective you're talking about is so important, because you need to have a perspective where it's like, what do people that is affecting, what do they think about it? You know, and, like, the conversation is good, but it's not good when it becomes hate. Because now they're hating on this poor woman.
People are like, because she was like, the reason why she came up with this idea in the first place is because she's been assaulted in the gym by a male. And people are like, yeah, but she wasn't, like, no woman is ever assaulted by a trans woman. It's only men that do it. Everything. But it's like, you can't speak for all women and say no woman is, no, because you don't know everyone's story, and not everyone is comfortable with talking about
sharing the story,
things that have happened to them. Sorry. And I find it, like, I go to the gym. Obviously, the gym I go to is mixed. But there are weird people there. There actually are. Like, even some of the PTs in the gym are really, really weird. So, like, I completely get where she's coming from. And, like, her saying that her openly coming out and saying, oh, I've been assaulted in the gym before. It probably wasn't easy for her to say. So for people to say, yeah, but not by, like, a trans woman.
Yeah, so
like,
now you're taking the issue that
you're taking it away from her. Like, you don't know how deep that is for her. So to take it away and be like, oh, but trans women don't assault women, you don't know that.
I also think, like,
speak for yourself. Don't speak for everyone else. You can't generalize one opinion and say this is, like, the case, because it's just not.
I also think, like, the answer is to let her inspire you.
Yeah.
If you're a trans person and you feel like, actually, I think we should be, then do it yourself. Create a space, because that's as she's done, you know?
I think there's one called Misfits, and it's a transgender gym.
You know, like, I feel like, you know, this is the thing about social media, and it's like most people just want to have an opinion on something, but really they don't really want change. And so you have all this information, someone's actually making change. Yeah. Have all this thing coming out, and it's like,
you're hating them for it.
And then people, so that's what people don't want to actually make change, because they feel like they're being targeted, and if you speak about it, it'll be targeted. Yeah. But we need to move away from that culture where we bring down people trying to do things.
And the instant offense as well, like if someone is just sharing their beliefs or anything, like it doesn't make them a hater. Yeah. It really doesn't. It's just, if that's what they believe in, that's what they believe in. If that's the way they live their life, they live their life that way. They're not a hater. Like, unless, you know, they actually, you know, are a hater. Doing that hater stuff. It's different. But like, if someone just doesn't agree or doesn't live their life the way that you live your life, it doesn't make them something. Yeah, like, dude, like I'm probably gonna get hate. To call someone transphobic.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Or like, even like, to call like someone like racist as well, and they're not being racist. It's like, when you put that label out there, it's very hard to take it back now, especially when you do it on social media, and that person is very big on social media, because then everyone's going to be like joining that narrative. Oh, yeah, she is. Like, I could tell from ages ago she was. But it's like, no, you've taken one thing, twisted it, not looked at the context, not heard the explanation, and you just ran with it, and it's now created this whole toxic thing. Because I think it's back now, but her page for that gym got removed from TikTok. It got banned, and that's her livelihood, because she's put her money on there and everything. And she even said like she's doing it for her daughter, so her daughter never feels that she is targeted in like a mixed gym or anything like that. So it's like, you've taken something so good and made it this like really toxic thing, which isn't fair, because also, again, it is her livelihood. She could have put everything she owns on that. Yeah, and it's like, you've just taken that and that made it what you think it is. Exactly. But and spread that to everyone else.
Yeah, I think we need to create a culture where we're less accepting of people who just hate and bring people down, man. Like, because even like we were talking about before with the, you know, being active and actually showing support for people that aren't you, it's like you can't live in a culture where anyone who tries to do something is brought down. Then it means you're going to have that. You're going to have people just doing crazy stuff.
People won't want to do anything, like, at all.
And they'll feel powerless.
You'll push people into a corner, and then afterwards you'll be like, oh, but you're not doing anything. You're not helping anyone. But then it's like, you've pushed them to that point where people are scared to do things.
To even speak. Even speak. Like,
exactly.
Like, someone's going to try to come for me. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm just an idiot on the mic. Yeah, like, I'm also trying to do something, trying to make a point, trying to bring to the conversation.
Have, like, the conversations that people are too scared to have because they've been told it's controversial. Not every, like, deep topic is controversial. Like,
it's
just not. No, because it really isn't.
I do agree.
And it's like, you can't say, I don't want to get into politics. Like, sometimes we have to. But then also, like, come on, like. Yeah. Again, I keep saying, I'm like a broken record. If it was you, what would you want someone doing? Yes. You would want someone to, like, have your back.
I completely agree. Okay, so speaking on that also, like, what do you think, because we touched a little bit on it, but activism can be draining, especially with all these kind of like things that come along with it. You know, how do you stay motivated to actually keep going, even past just the, you know, the internet gossip and perception of it, but also like just the news, you know, like being informed about Gaza, which I also try to do. It's like a lot, you know, you see all these like babies being killed and, you know, all these things. It does take a toll.
It does.
How do you stay kind of like still sane through that?
It is, I would say it's like, it is emotionally and I would say maybe mentally like draining. Or not draining, I'd say it's more like draining. Because it is hard to see. And especially when, for example, because I post a lot about it, a lot of it comes up on my feed as well. So it's like some of the videos I'm seeing is very hard to see. And it's I'm seeing it through a camera and it's hard. Imagine seeing it like in your face.
Imagine being
like,
a person.
It would traumatize you. And it's hard. It's really hard to kind of sometimes sometimes I'm like, oh my God, if I post that, someone's gonna like, I might trigger someone. And I don't want to trigger someone at all. But I do want, like, I do think sometimes you do need to see how bad things are to actually be able to be like, oh, damn, like, okay.
Yeah.
Change does need to happen.
Yeah.
But it is like hard, especially, for example, when I was doing my run, it was really, really like draining, because especially with like topics like these, when you can't talk about it in certain spaces, it's very hard to kind of stay like on top of it and continue to do it, because someone's also always trying to kind of bite it down and be like, oh, but did you really think about this? Or like, but do you know the full story? Like, I'm not there, I will never know the full story, but from what I've seen, I know that it's not okay. Like, as a human, I know it's not okay. So it's like, it is very hard to kind of say, because it's really emotional, especially when it involves like deaths and stuff, like and it's like the way when it's like there's a big emphasis on how someone's dying as well. It's like, oh my God, it's not like you got hit by a car. Like, limbs are gone, cut, like blown, like it's really, really bad. So it's really hard sometimes to kind of stay talking about it. Obviously, I talk about it and I post about it, but sometimes it is hard, especially when you do come across those really traumatizing videos, and it's like you have to take a step back. Because I had a friend that I used to work with, and he was also posting about it, and then he was seeing the videos, and he has kids as well, and he was like, it was so traumatizing to see that he just had to get off social media because it was hurting him to see that, because he has kids. So he like saw it as if it was his kids. So it was like, it can be really like draining in the sense of you somewhat get traumatized from it as well. So it's kind of hard to keep going. But then the way I kind of remind myself is it has to be done. Like, it needs to be talked about. It needs to be posted, because not enough people know about it. And it's like, when you see something, like, it's like you see it to believe it.
Yes.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, people will only believe it once they see it.
Yeah.
So it's like I keep on top of that.
Because you kind of have to,
You have to.
I completely agree. I think also it's like the instinct.
Yeah.
If you see something like that and it makes you feel something internally,
Yeah.
that's your human instinct.
Yeah.
Telling you, like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, for you to be seeing something, and that's why people reject it, because they don't really have the responsibility for that
Yeah,
feeling.
no, because I got asked once, your story, I got told your stories actually upset me. You shouldn't post stuff like that. And I'm like, what do you mean post stuff like what? Because I'm posting stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not doing it to upset you.
Yeah.
I'm posting it because I think it needs to be addressed and people need to see what's going on. Because then you can't say, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You did know.
And also,
you saw.
why are you upset?
Why are you upset?
Like, it's a real issue. Yeah, exactly. Why
I
are you
hit
upset?
it back with, if you're upset, imagine what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Like, you're upset from like seeing it and you're like, oh, don't post it. I'm like, okay, I'm still going to post it. If you don't like it, then you can just simply like not follow me.
Yeah.
Or you can block me or remove me. You don't have to, because I'm not going to stop for your sake.
Do you think, speaking on that actually, do you think being an activist or like doing stuff like that and actually sharing that, do you think that's like a moral obligation, or do you think that's like a personal choice each person has to go through?
For me, I would say it's a personal choice, because I always think of it as, if it was me, how would I feel? I do think for some people, maybe it could be a moral obligation. Like, some people, it's like, you know, empaths, basically, like, when you see something happening, you feel it. Like, when you see someone's upset, you feel it as well. So, I think for some people,
It's and I think I see that too, because sometimes, because I think it's weird, isn't it? Because I think there's a line too, because
there is a line,
if we don't morally, like I was saying before, the human, the collective conscious, like, if we don't see that and do something about it,
it will get worse. It did get worse.
Are we complicit? Like, are we complicit by not sharing it? And I know personally, I don't want to feel complicit for anything, except for my own actions. But it's also like, how many of us are going to be saying that until we get to a point where like, whoa, this is
Exactly.
actually like really bad.
Yeah, because like with it, even if it is a moral obligation, I wouldn't even say it's a bad thing. I think sometimes, I do think some people live their life, they're like, I do need to do this because if I don't, it makes me a bad person. If I don't talk about it, it makes me a bad person. It's not. If you don't talk about something or if you don't do something, some people, the people that like, they don't donate and they're like, oh, I should probably start donating so I can be a better person. Donating doesn't make you a good person. Like, it's a really good thing for you to do, but just if you don't donate, you're not a bad person. Or if you don't talk about something, you're not a bad person. It doesn't have to be that. Because if you do it out of, I need to do it so that people don't think I'm a bad person, then you've not done it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've not done it for the right reasons or the reasons of it mattering. You've done it to basically feel good. And it's like selfish in a way. So like that's why I say for me it is a personal choice, because it's like I know I don't have to post about it, I know I don't have to talk about it, but I want to, because like I said, if it was me, this is what I would want done. And I look at a lot of things like that. If it was me, this is what I would expect, this is what I would want, therefore I'm gonna do what I would expect. Like, expect what give what you expect. I don't know the saying. Something like
know
that.
What you mean, I know. Give what you expect. No, that's fine.
Yeah, treat people how you want to be treated.
Oh, okay. That's a completely different saying. I was like, I was trying to back you up.
My brain went. No, but it's like.
I know exactly what
you know what I mean. I don't know how to explain it, but basically, yeah.
No, I completely agree. And I think you're right. I think it's about treating each other like we're human beings. If you forget that, then it becomes a thing where we kind of, especially if it needs technology, kind of separates us too much, where we don't feel that visceral.
It's just toxic.
You know, I think we can even go into that, like, even, I think that's another time, because it's like a whole conversation about activism on social media and how it stunts it instead of actually like propping it up. And it's like you're posting into a void of just other people making all these other noises. Yeah. You know?
And people, like, it's like if you're active about something, or if you post a lot about something or talk a lot about something, people are like, oh, you're just so radical.
Yeah.
But then it's like, but you're not. Yeah. Because I'm not like knocking down your bin saying, believe what I'm saying, look at this. No. Like, no one's doing that. And a lot of people aren't radical, but like on social media, whenever like protests happen, they only ever clip that group of people that are being radical or are being extreme, and they run with that and be like, everyone at this protest was like this. There is such a thing as peaceful protests. If someone else turns it into something else, or like if that corner isn't being like peaceful about it, it's that corner. It's not the whole entire protest at all. So it's like, I don't know, like people throw the word radical around a bit too much and associate everything with radical, because when you see someone being radical, you're like, damn.
I think it's a, like, not to get controversial, I think it's a media thing. I think the media has a way of kind of like showing us what they want us to believe and radicalizing these people who aren't radical to make us feel like, you know, to make us feel like, you know, like, oh, being part of this conversation is, and it's like, people need to like take a step back and realize how it's affecting their mind. I had to do that for myself, you know?
Yeah, like I was in, obviously my degree, there was one topic that we did on social media and media in general. And it was like, the media only show us what they want to show us. They only show us what they want to show us. That's why it's like, don't ever fully believe the media. Go out there, do your own research. Find what you can. And a lot of the time, the truth is buried under so many, like, lies or, like, headlines that are aiming to tarnish a lot of people and a lot of beliefs. So it's like, you have to be careful. Don't always believe, like, what you see in the media. My parents used to always say it. Don't believe everything you see on TV. Don't believe everything you see on TV, because it's a lie.
And it's like, you think about it for your own life, like, when you put stories up there, Instagram stories, like, you know, like, most of what I'm putting, I'm showing you stuff. I'm creating that. Imagine a big conglomerate company.
There's a massive edit team that they have.
Like, you're looking there, saying their piece of free information.
They can edit voice now.
Yeah, AI is crazy.
AI. They can edit your voice now and make you...
Please leave me alone, AI.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
That's weird. Don't do that, because That's scary.
It is scary.
Because it will sound like you
exactly
as well.
And you'd be saying things you just never said in your life.
Exactly. And you're like, whoa. Like what happened on Love Island with Grace.
Mm-hmm.
The screenshots. I don't know
I've
if
not
you
seen
watched.
that. No.
Oh,
What happened?
Love Island All Stars. One of the girls basically at the fire pit was just like, she saw a screenshot of one girl saying basically she'll do anything to win Love Island. And that's what she's basically there for. And then it came out and she got so much hate. And it was literally the day before the final. And they were literally, they would have won, in my opinion. I think they would have won.
Yeah.
The public loved them. And the moment, she said that on national TV, when you come at someone's character like that on national TV, you know they're going to get hate, especially because she had been on the show before and received hate and backlash for some of the things she did. And when that happened, it was like the screenshots that came out that they were fake and they were photoshopped. But the damage was already done.
Yeah, it's malicious, but it's already done.
It's so evil.
It's crazy because like what are you supposed to even do? Okay, so looking at it positively now.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a lot. I think it's important. I think it's really important. No, but I think it's really important to highlight these issues.
Yeah.
Which is like I said to you before, I've wanted to talk about these issues, but I want to talk about it in a way of not making people feel powerless.
Yeah.
But showing someone who's actually doing something about it, being like, look, you can do it too. You know, you can actually make a difference too by just believing you can and actually having. Like you said, educating yourself and having a good, honest interaction of whatever you're trying to make an impact on. But I wanted to also just ask, how do you measure progress, in activism? Because it is difficult because everything seems so big and, not even just with Palestine, but also just in anything in general. How do you see progress? Do you think we're heading that direction? What do you think?
I would say... That's a really interesting question. I would say I do think we are heading in that direction slowly. And the reason why I say that is because I still don't think enough is being done. And I think that is because people still don't want to talk about it. And it's like pushing it to the side. And I think... from what I can see, especially over the past few years with like COVID and stuff, what I've seen, people, until things get really, really bad, that's when people are like, okay, yeah, we need to do something. So it's like we're too slow with it. We're really slow with it because we wait until it's really bad, until the last second to do something about something or like talk about something. And it's like by then... so many bad things have happened. Like with COVID, it wasn't until there was how many deaths that we went into a lockdown. And that lockdown, and like half the world had already gone into a lockdown. But the UK was like one of the last because they were waiting basically for a certain number of deaths. Like that's, when you think about it, that's so messed up.
I know.
And to wait until something's really bad to make a change is why I say we're moving slow. Because it's like we recognizing it, we know it's there, but we're just like, let's leave it for a bit and then let's do something. And that's why I say we are making progress really, really slow. I think it could be a lot faster. There's not enough like physical change, I'd say. Because I feel like we live in a generation where we give up a bit too easily. Like, oh, if there's no change, it's not working out or whatever, then move on to the next thing. But like, you're not gonna, especially big issues in the world, and there are a lot of big issues in the world, you're not gonna see the change like tomorrow. It's gonna take years, especially back in the day. Like it took years.
It took generations.
Like it took generations, years. Like for us to even be where we are now. So it's like we know it is gonna do that, but we still need to do our part. I'd say we are improving and everything. It's definitely, I think people are talking about it more, or people are a bit more open. I think people are scared to talk about it, but they're not afraid of hearing it anymore. I feel like before, you couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't talk about it.
I agree. And I think just even like little things like these conversations really help. What gives you hope? When you look out into the world, past, obviously there's so much things that are happening that are like bad, and we've talked about a lot of those things today, but what gives you hope when you look at the world? To be fair, it's like those small acts of kindness that actually give me hope. Like, when you see them little like videos of, it's like
I think they're like social experiments and stuff that they do. And then it's like, you see like, I don't know, like a kid helping an old man cross the street. Like that, like, I'm like, oh, that's just so cute. And it's like, I'm really emotional. So when I see videos like that, I tear up a bit. And it's like, I would say that it's like the small acts, a little bit of kindness that I'm like, it does give me hope for like change. And I do think, so I know we said social media is toxic, but I do think social media as well. And the reason why, it has now given people a platform to have a voice and be heard. Whereas before, you didn't have a voice. And it'd be very hard to be able to say what you think. But because now anyone can have a social media account on, whether it be like TikTok, Instagram, whatever, like anyone can have a page or an account. So, and you can post whatever you want. So if you want to talk about something, you can do that. And that share button just goes absolutely crazy because things go viral in like minutes.
Literally.
Or overnight. So that's why I'm like, social media and also the small acts of kindness, I think, gives me the little hope.
I completely agree with you. I think like even this, like even being able to create a platform. Like you were talking before about hopefully having a podcast, and I think it's so true. Like even the ability for just people who have something in themselves, who actually, I want to say something, and then having the tools that aren't, you know, before I think it was just the media that could do it, and they had their own, and it kind of clouded our judgment. But now we can just get on here, be research, and just talk about it, you know?
That's what that's one thing I like as well. I know a lot of people are like, anyone can have a podcast nowadays. But that's good that anyone can have a podcast nowadays, because they can talk about whatever they want. If you own something, you could talk about whatever you want now. And it's like, oh, like, yeah, people say not everyone should have one. If they're not talking about or doing stuff that you like, you don't have to watch it. Like, you really don't. But you also don't need to be sat there leaving a hate comment.
Literally.
Because you're also, but like, you're contributing to their engagement. Well done. That backfired. But like, podcasts as well, that's something that a lot of people now are having, or they're starting, and they're talking about things, which is like good, because it's like, it's not just like they're saying something on social media and then it's just that one video. It's now an actual discussion. And that's what needs to be happening. I think our generation, we talk a lot. We talk a lot. We don't do a lot of physical stuff, but I think we talk a lot. But I think that's because none of us ever went to war. I think it'd be different. If we were all told that we need to go on that front line, it'd be very... We wouldn't even survive.
I think most people wouldn't even go. They'd be like, I'd
hide.
You hide where?
I would dig a hole and hide in there.
Getting a hat.
Like, my advantage if I was to go to war is that I'm small.
How is that advantage?
Because I can crawl. Like, they won't think that anyone's crawling. They'll think it's just tumbleweed going by. Like, it will be fine. But like, I would not survive I wouldn't even survive in boot camp. Like,
it was just like, nah, we need her. It's fine.
I'd be like, you can keep me for like spare parts.
I'll be right at the back. Like, hit me at the back. Let me tell like,
give me like the controls or something. Then it's like, I'm not tech savvy. What would I be there for?
Well, hopefully there'll be no war.
Yeah, hopefully. Like, I know they were talking about that whole front line stuff. I was like, huh?
But okay, let's wrap it up. Okay, so everything we spoke about today, you mentioned a lot. I wanted to ask you what impact you wish to leave. So obviously, a lot of the stuff that we talk about, a lot of the discussions that we have, it's good because we can create the discussion, we can create a dialogue, but also I think we often think about what we want to leave. When I always think about this too when I have children and kids, the kind of world I want to bring them into. But speaking for you, what do you want to come out of all of this? The things that you do and the impact that you want to leave, even if past, not even just this activism, but also in your life also.
I'd want the younger generation to kind of like see this. For example, I have little sisters, so I would want them to see what I'm doing or what I'm like talking about, or how like open and confident I am about talking about things that, people wouldn't consider are easy topics to talk about because they're very deep topics. So I'd want the younger generation to kind of be able to see it and be like, okay, I'm not scared to say what I want to say or what I believe in. I'm not scared to vouch for what I believe in. And I too can like do something to better someone else's life. But impact.
I think it's a difficult question
Yeah,
because you're living the impact that you have. And I think that's what makes it difficult.
Yeah.
No, it's hard to think about something you're doing, you know. And I think speaking from what I see from the outside, this is the impact you're having. You're having people think about these issues more than they would.
I would want for people who see this to be like, okay, we should talk about things more and do things more, like, and know not to be afraid to do that. And like, there's always going to be someone that doesn't agree, and there's always going to be someone that doesn't like what you have to say. But if you put yourself in a place where you don't say what you want to say, you're going to trap yourself in a place where you're just like screaming inside.
Absolutely.
And you're going to feel useless, and you don't want to feel like that. Anyone is able to do something. Like, you don't have to do crazy things to be like supportive or anything like that. I don't want people to think that if they're not educated or like they don't donate or they're not aware of like the humanitarian issues that are going on in the world, I don't want them to think they're a bad person. Like, you're not a bad person at the end of the day. Just trying goes a long way. Trying is enough. And that's what I kind of want people to remember.
I completely agree.
And I don't want the younger generation or the next generation to repeat our mistakes.
Please don't repeat my mistakes.
Please don't. See what we're doing, read it in the textbook and be like, yeah, miss, we can't do what they're doing.
We can't do what they're doing. Let's actually do better.
Do better.
Do better. That's
and do
beautiful.
It on time.
Yes.
Don't do it late.
Yes. Do it now, actually. Do it. If you're watching it, do it now.
You're not late to class, so don't be late to this.
Don't be late to this. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Gammar. This has been amazing. Thank you for being here. I think, like I've said already, like what you're doing is so important. Keep going. If there's any way that I can support, is any way that people at home can support, I hope they reach out and let you know that. But yeah, thank you so much today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Till next time, guys.
Bye. Peace.